All right, let's dive right in. We're all living in this constant tug of war, right? You've got your responsibilities as a citizen on one side and your deeply held beliefs on the other. So what happens when those two things clash? Where does your ultimate allegiance actually lie? We're going to explore that question using some really ancient wisdom that, believe it or not, has some seriously practical answers for the world we live in right now.
You know, this one idea, it's pretty much the key to everything we're about to cover. The second you truly grasp who you belong to, your entire relationship with earthly power, I'm talking everything from your boss to your government, it just gets completely reframed. It becomes way less about conflict and a lot more about having clarity and a real sense of purpose.
So our first lesson is all about what you might call knowing your brand. Or maybe a better way to put it is understanding your dual citizenship. This actually comes from a moment where Jesus was put in a really tight spot with a political trap, and his answer tells us everything about which passport truly defines who we are.
Okay, so check this out. This slide just lays it all out perfectly. When Jesus said, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's," he was talking about a coin, a piece of metal literally stamped with Caesar's face on it. That stuff belongs to the earthly system. But then you look at the right side of this slide. You aren't stamped with the face of a politician. You are made in the image of God. So the takeaway is pretty clear. Yeah, pay your taxes, do your job, but don't ever let a company or a government or some critic on social media define your ultimate worth. That belongs to a much higher authority.
All right, lesson number 2. For this, we're jumping into a letter written by the Apostle Paul to believers living in Rome. And this one is huge because it completely changes how we see authority figures, from presidents all the way down to our own managers, especially the ones we really struggle to respect.
We all have these authorities in our lives, don't we? They make decisions that impact our careers, our money, our future. And let's just be honest, it can be incredibly frustrating. It can make you feel pretty powerless sometimes.
But here's the thought. What if those authorities, whether you voted for them or, definitely didn't, what if they don't just operate in a vacuum? The text we're looking at here suggests there is a much, much bigger picture at play.
And here's the point. All authority is ultimately established by God. You can kind of think of it like there's a higher head office that's really in charge. Now, that does not mean every leader is good or that their decisions are perfect. Not at all. But what it does mean is that we can find a sense of peace, knowing that even in the middle of all the chaos in the world, there's a sovereign plan at work.
Let's move on to our third lesson, which is, honestly, a radical rule for our financial and our emotional lives. It completely flips our understanding of what we owe other people and what we think they owe us.
The Apostle Paul is super clear here. We have real obligations. We're supposed to pay our taxes, give respect where it's due, give honor to people in positions of authority. And this isn't about being weak. It's about having wisdom and integrity. These are debts that we're actually called to pay in full.
But then, he introduces this amazing contrast. While you can pay off all those other debts, there is one debt that lasts forever, the debt to love. And that's not supposed to be a burden. It's a life-giving calling. I mean, just imagine that. Instead of worrying all the time about what the world owes you, your entire focus shifts to what you owe the world: love, kindness, and just a little bit of light.
Our fourth lesson comes from a letter by the Apostle Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, and wow, it is an incredible strategy for our world of constant criticism and call-out culture. It's really all about building a reputation that just speaks for itself.
Seriously, think about that for a second. In a world of nonstop criticism and unfair attacks, the most powerful response isn't some clever comeback. It's a life that is lived with such consistent goodness that the accusations they don't stick. They fall flat. Your character becomes your own best defense, silencing the critics without you ever having to say a single word.
And that leads us right into our fifth and final lesson. This one redefines one of the most powerful words we have: freedom. It argues that real freedom isn't a license to just do whatever you want. It's having the strength and the security to do what is right.
And this right here just captures the idea perfectly. True freedom isn't about having the power to serve yourself. The real power, the real boss energy, is in choosing to serve a purpose that's bigger than you are. It's all about using your freedom to lift other people up.
So, what happens when these two authorities actually collide? This slide lays out the framework, and it is absolutely critical. Let's walk through it. Number 1, the default is to submit to human authority. But, and here's the exception, number 2, unless it commands you to violate a core conviction. At that point, you move to step 3. Your allegiance has to shift, and you must obey God. But, and this is so key, look at step 4. You accept the earthly consequences with grace.
This isn't about protesting a tax hike you don't like. This is about standing firm when you are told to do something that violates a non-negotiable principle.
So, to bring this all home, these 5 lessons really all point back to that one central idea we started with. When you know who you ultimately belong to, you can navigate this crazy world with a quiet confidence that no earthly power can ever shake.
And that leaves us right here, with this final crucial question. It's not just some hypothetical thing to debate. It's a personal inventory check for all of our deepest loyalties. When the pressure is really on, and you're forced to choose, who truly holds the final word in your life? It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.